Greetings, everyone, and welcome. November the 25th, 2025, 4:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11:15 p.m. in Kyiv, Ukraine. And just hours ago, Sergei Lavrov all but confirming that Russia would not go for any peace plan that was not based on the Anchorage understandings. There could be no changes to that. Lavrov also ripping personally Macron and the European Union. And just moments ago, Donald Trump tweeting, and the information found in that tweet all but confirmed that this peace plan is dead on arrival. I have all of the facts for you. I have video for you. And most importantly, I've got a video from General Jack Keane that I think tells the whole story. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing, liking, commenting, and subscribing. We appreciate each and every one of you. As you can see in the thumbnail here, Putin saying, "Let me talk to Witkoff again." Lavrov, everybody thought he was gone. Oh no, he was never gone. They play it perfectly. He's back center stage, ripping the European Union, ripping any plan that will not line up with Anchorage, and personally going after Macron today. And it appears now that Trump has made his statement. Trump has made his opinions known. And now this tweet that just came out really shows us what will be unfolding over the next weeks and months to come, in my opinion. Let's jump straight into it here, and we have to start with this. This is why we do not chase mainstream media. We wait for facts. Axios reporting earlier, Zelensky ready to meet Trump over Thanksgiving to finalize the deal. They were even talking about how Zelensky would be going to Mar-a-Lago, not going to Washington, D.C. Ladies and gentlemen, do you really think that Donald Trump would welcome President Zelensky or anybody else into Mar-a-Lago on Thanksgiving? Please. Of course, that was never going to happen, but now we have the confirmation. Donald Trump just tweeting out, "Over the past week, my team has made tremendous progress with respect to ending the war between Russia and Ukraine. A war that would have never started if I were president." That's the broken record there. Last month, 25,000 soldiers died. The original 28-point peace plan, which was drafted by the United States. Very important you pay attention to that because of all the pressure coming in and the confirmation for sure there were Russian roots in that peace plan. So he makes that statement clear. He says it has been fine-tuned with additional input from both sides. Just be aware, both sides is not Russia-Ukraine. Both sides is Ukraine-America. We're not talking to Russia. Okay, just remember that. It's very important as we go forward. He says there are only a few remaining points of disagreement. Of course, the number one is going to be territory. In the hopes of finalizing this peace plan, I have directed my special envoy, Stephen Witkoff, to meet with President Putin in Moscow. This peace plan is DOA, ladies and gentlemen. Witkoff is on his way back to Putin. And at the same time, Secretary of the Army Dan Driscoll will be meeting with the Ukrainians. I will be briefed on all progress made, along with Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, and White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles. I look forward to hopefully, listen closely, hopefully meeting with President Zelensky and President Putin soon, but only, in all caps, when the deal to end this war is final or in its final stages. Thank you for your attention to this very important matter, and let's all hope that peace can be accomplished as soon as possible. Let me tell you what that is, and I think you already are aware. That's called washing the hands. Hey, you like the Ukraine sweatshirt? Today we've got to rep it hard. Rep it hard today. I was talking, I'm not trying to switch topics, Ukrainian soldiers today, and they even told me, Greg, forget all of this stuff. We're in a hellish war here. It's not changing. This stuff that's being talked about in politics is in left field to us. It doesn't make sense. It's not going to happen. And now we see all of this unfolding. So I'm giving you another confirmation there. But after talking to the soldiers, I really got pumped up, had to start putting my Ukrainian gear on. But this all but tells you guys it's over here as far as the United States is concerned. We are sending Witkoff back to Moscow. And I will meet with Zelensky and Putin whenever some final deal is arranged. Now, let's take it a step further. Ukraine gave the summary, and before I read this was Yermak stating these facts earlier today. New York Times also, not that I follow any of that media, I look only for source material, came out just an hour ago and wrote that there was no way that Russia would ever agree to the peace plan, even the revised one. So it's almost as if the United States is trying to save face here a little bit because Putin's going to reject that plan, and Lavrov all but does it. Here's Yermak. He says Ukraine will not abandon its NATO membership in the future despite the United States peace plan. And that's a quote. And we know that NATO was off the table in this peace plan. We have not seen the final revised, but we know that it was off the original. He also said, however, we realize we're living in reality now and that we are not in NATO. He says the peace plan has been significantly changed from the original 28-point U.S. proposal. The new project takes into account the interest of Ukraine and includes an understanding of our red lines. The issue of territorial concessions will be discussed personally with Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump just tweeted that he's not going to be talking to Zelensky or Putin until we get a final agreement. So that's off the table now. For now, this is a key problem as the United States believes that the loss of territories by Ukraine is inevitable. Yermak called the security guarantees for Ukraine in the text of the document solid. So that's what we have from Ukraine. General Jack Keane was on Fox today with Maria Bartiromo, and he nailed it. Putin is testing the will. Putin talks nice and plays dirty. And we must remember that with any deal, Russia has to agree to it, not the United States and Ukraine. Listen to Jack Keane here.
Warfare is fundamentally a test of wills. And it comes down to that. And that's where Putin is coming from. He wants to break our will here because we're all so frustrated with the dying and the killing and the war going on now, right, closing on 4 years. Yeah. So he has been a very tough negotiator. He talks nice, yeah, but he plays hard here.
Sure does.
And we'll see if he's willing to come to the table and make any concessions on this. That remains to be seen. The fact that you brought him up is clearly an issue. Yeah. And certainly he has a lot to say whether there's going to be a peace deal or not.
You see, I think this is the kind of information that started to come back into American understanding, and that's why we get this crazy tweet from Trump. In my opinion, it's crazy tweet. You're going aggressive. We're not going to do anything until we get this solved. And now, you know what? When you guys figure out how you want to have a peace deal, then I'll come and talk to you only in the final stages. That's a surrender, guys. And knew it was going to happen, didn't expect it to happen this way. And I am dropping a little bit of my own opinion there, but the facts are obvious. In fact, I look forward to reading the comments and chatting with you. Join our Discord, links in the description or in a pinned comment, and we can talk about it in there. I love answering questions. It's crazy what has unfolded in the last couple of hours, but Jack Keane there nailed it. Nailed it perfectly. Have you forgotten, everybody, that Russia must also agree to this? So, with that said, and I also on that video you saw there Skabeeva. Jack Keane's already plastered all over Russian media. I left that on there on purpose so that you could see that this is what Russia is listening to. Exactly what they're listening to. And Keane nailed it. Now, let's go to Lavrov. Lavrov, let's just say it this way. He was on target and he was on task today. Trump understood everything from Alaska. The world now tries to undermine it. He says the EU failed in their chances to help, and Macron is aggressive, talking about red lines and sending troops to Ukraine. That will never work. I remind you, and we've been talking about this for about 2 months, or what was it, August is when Alaska happened? There were things discussed in that meeting between Putin and Trump, and understandings reached, not agreements, just understandings reached, that Russia will not let go of. I think Donald Trump trying to strong arm or force them to move off of that, but they're not going to. They're not going to. And you will hear that now. Let's start with this clip from Lavrov. We are expecting to receive a version of the text that would be considered intermediate in terms of finalizing any type of text for a final agreement from the Europeans and Ukrainians. Then we'll see, because if the spirit and the letter of anchorage and those meetings there is erased from the key points that are being documented, then of course it's going to be a completely different situation. But for now, we've received nothing officially. They stand by that. We have nothing official to look at. We've received things through some channels, but nothing official. And if that spirit of anchorage is not in there, forget about it. Now, look here. He goes after the EU and Macron. So the Europeans, they now don't dare do anything without the United States. So I say you guys in Europe already had your chances. You didn't take advantage of it. You simply blew it. And like today, Macron making very direct statements, provocative about red lines, and everything is Russia's fault and the demands of Russia. The strategic confrontation with Europeans from Russia. And we will never surrender to force that threatens us. Macron stated that. He also said after a settlement, he plans to send troops to Kyiv and Odessa, the regions. Well, you know, these are just dreams that have nothing to do with a peaceful resolution. The one thing that I will say, and I'm not defending, I'm just trying to help you guys understand. I've worked in Russia and Ukraine for over 30 years. The Kremlin is not going to depart from their core talking points based on Putin's speech from 24. Whatever also happened in Alaska that we do not know, they're not going to budge from it whatsoever. There's one more clip I want to play for you from Lavrov, and then, you know, you just have to evaluate for yourself if the summary of this day is accurate or not. We have permanent communication channels open with the Americans. President Putin mentioned this earlier when he was evaluating Trump's peace plan. But the fact is, our diplomacy works differently. We are professionals. We work professionally. We do not work by leaking information before reaching final agreements. And those who represent diplomacy in the political scene of Europe do exactly the opposite of that. These leaks and constant rumors that are swirling have only one purpose, and in this case, it is to undermine Trump's initiative and understanding that was reached in Anchorage. There it is again. They do not hide this. Just read their rhetoric. Read what Merz and Macron and the bureaucrats in Brussels say. We do not engage in such practices. We will always act in our foreign policy officially. We will negotiate with confidence before announcing what's been agreed or any other approaches. If diplomacy doesn't happen this way, it puts all at risk from those that want to undermine the final result. And the media, the mass media, the outlets and corporations, all there is are examples of this. So, as I said, we have channels of diplomacy that we talk directly, and we will not respond to provocative talk that could undermine positive initiatives. There you have it. Once again, Anchorage, Anchorage, Anchorage. We are professionals. We do not leak. We only operate professionally. I remind you one last time as I'm signing off, they're not going to budge. And I think somehow today, the United States became aware that the Kremlin is not going to budge. And that is why we have this extreme high possible result. Peace plan dead. Because Witkoff is on the way to Moscow. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing, liking, commenting, and subscribing. We appreciate each and every one of you. Make sure you have that notification bell on because anything can happen at any moment. Be blessed.